Thanks everyone for tuning in to my channel. This is Donna Makita Bradley with the Book of Makita 411. So, what are we going to talk about today? So much going on in the world. So let's chat. Hi, welcome back. Glad you're tuning into my channel. If you've been watching my videos, I really appreciate the support. And I'm going to today share a video about toddlers and social media devices. Being that I am an educator, I have worked with young people for about 14 years now, and they're all types of demographics as an art instructor. And I have seen some things about the social media aspect in children that today is kind of frightening for me. And I don't want to sound like when television came along, how, it was those who weren't used to the idea of television felt that it was going to damage their generation and, it was something demonic about it and evil. I'm not trying to say that. I am basically concerned with the whole aspect of young people being so accessible through their devices. And that's my biggest concern. But I found this interesting. So he says handheld screens might delay a child's ability to form words based on new research being presented this week at the annual Pediatric Academic Societies meeting in San Francisco. This preliminary study is the first to show how mobile devices impact speech development in children, raising a question that fills the minds of many parents. How much time should my child spend with a mobile device? Really? That's different right there. Like, how much time should my child spend with a mobile device? I mean, back when I was young, it was how much time does my child need to be with the babysitter or with the brother or with television, yeah. But a mobile device now has been the big question on the parents' minds today, which is quite interesting. But for parents who see mobile devices as an education tool, don't immediately lock away your smartphone or tablet. Here's what you should know about the risk. Express yourself. Studies on media usage and child development are notoriously difficult to conduct. Doctors can't exactly split up of a bunch of babies and say, you kids spend a lot of time with your iPads while the rest of you don't. Let's see what happens. So Catherine Birkin, a pediatrician and scientist at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, relied on well child visits, regular checkups that assesses a child's growth, health, and development from 2011 to 2015. She asked the parents of to estimate how much time their children spend each day with handheld electronic devices like smartphones, tablets, electronic games. Meanwhile, Birkin and her team assessed each child with the infant toddler checklist, a screening tool that looks for signs of delayed communication development. It isn't a definitive diagnosis, Birkin said, but it does assess whether a child is at risk and needs to be referred for further evaluation in total. Birkin's team recruited and examined nearly 900 toddlers aged 6 to 24 months for the study. 6 months to 24 months. By the time they reached their 18th month checkups, 20% of the children used mobile devices for 28 minutes on average each day. So they've been here only a year and some months, and they already are locked in. They found children who spent more time with handheld
screens were more likely to exhibit signs of a delay in expressive speech. How children use their sounds and words and how they put their words together to communicate. Now, I can see that. Like, if you're not talking to your child, I mean, I know, and it says it in this article, and I'm not going to read the whole article. You guys can actually look it up. And I know I should be posting links of the articles that I am sharing, and I'm new to this, and eventually I will post them. But the thing is that with this whole thing about, they're looking at a screen, and these toddlers or infants, and I know that most times when you're young and looking at screens, you're not really taking in the information. It's more so probably the lighting, the sound. You're not really being able to interpret what you're watching. And so, yeah, they're being bombarded with all these different voices. And so that could delay a child's communication if they're not hearing their own parents speak to them. I mean, wouldn't you think so? So each 30 minutes additional of handheld screen time was linked to a 49% increased risk in expressive speech to delay. Other forms of communication, gestures, emotion, social eye gazing, were unaffected. Okay, I just said they can sit there and look at the lights and be fascinated with the sound, but they're not really tuning in to what's being said. Birkin emphasized that the findings at this stage don't prove cause and effect that would require a clinical trial where children are randomly selected and tracked throughout childhood. But this study highlights what could be a life-altering trend for children exposed to too much handheld screen time because of the value of expressive speech. Now, being an art teacher, I totally do understand that because that's what art is truly about, expressing yourself. And it is difficult if you're being bombarded with media all day long, images, to even think for yourself as far as how to express what you feel without, because I noticed that, even with teaching art, students will often, young up until high school, they want to duplicate what they already know, like, characters, which, there's nothing wrong with rendering something that you've seen, but they really don't know how to express their own ideas because they're constantly being bombarded with this screen with images. So she goes on to talk about, that the media use is problems less with mobile devices and more about how we use them, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you're going to use the mobile device, then maybe, in a way that is an interactive tool, videotape yourself and talk to your child if you don't have time to do it. I mean, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Like how to bond with your child in a way where they hear your voice and see you on the screen or things like that. Look up how you can, and she talks about that too, like find your grandma, see where she is on social media, if that's what you're going to do. And that's what I'm going to say, working with the young people as I do, I will say this, the parents do think that it's okay for their 6-year-old, 7-year-old to have a phone. And to me, I understand their whole thing about, well, my child, if something goes wrong, I need him to be able to communicate and get to me, but, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because I do understand with the world today, yes, that is a good thing to have, but I see the way they use their phones when their parents aren't around and they're on Snapchat, and I'm talking about the elementary kids, not as opposed to the toddlers here. But the elementary kids are using the phones and they're using Snapchat, and they are accessing the internet. And even if you think you have control of what your child is seeing, there is no definite way to filter out everything. I mean, and predators know this, and this is why I have a concern about it. I mean, I remember back in the day, you couldn't just call me. You could not just call me. You had to call my parents' home. And then they would decide if you talked to me or not. Like I said, I don't want to sound like a dinosaur and that I'm against technology. I'm not, because I understand that everything has to progress. But we do need to recognize some of the effects of being so connected to these devices, you know? And we do need to recognize when it is posing a problem. And if it is posing a problem for kids to express themselves, you know, that can also lead to problems in other ways. I mean, if you're not able to express yourself and you've never learned it as a child, how do you do it as an adult in an effective way? And I'm not, like there is other things. There are other things about being connected with the internet that may be good. I mean, like, they do have to learn the skills to keep up with what kind of workforce they will be in when they get older. But toddlers right now, I don't think really should be exposed so much to technology in that way because it is going to pose a problem later. I mean, it did, again, it depends on how you're using the device. So, what do you guys think? How do you feel about young people using social media at a very young age, even like before they can talk? I mean, I saw one video where the father would put the iPad in his son's hand, who was a toddler, and he would light up and get all excited and into it. But as soon as he took it away, the kid was throwing a tantrum and screaming, and then put it back in his hand. He's smiling and laughing, took it away, he's screaming. So right there just shows you like the connection of a device has taken place. And even not even like television. I mean, I remember when my son was young and a toddler, if the TV was on, he would watch, but you could tell he wasn't engaged. It was just the stimulation. Now these kids are like focused into what's being said and what's being seen, and it's different. And I'm quite sure there's some science out there about how it's also developing their minds in a different way, you know? So again, if you have some kind of viewpoint on this, or you have some kind of strong feeling towards, or even if you don't agree with me, you think it's fine for kids to be able to use their iPads as toddlers to communicate and as a tool, or as I said, most of the time it's not a tool. It's more to pacify the child. You see them passing the iPad like they used to pass the pacifier. So, again, your comments are just as important as my opinion. So, go ahead if you like what I'm saying, subscribe and press like. And, like I always say, at the end of the day, make it a great day. Thanks for watching. And I don't even have my headsets on today. This is just the music in my head.